Today on the Extreme Channel, arguably this is going to be the hardest statue comparison I've ever done. We have a Batman on throne and a Batman on throne. Now, while they're both Batman on throne, they are as different as it gets. You know, it's like some of the mysteries of the world, like the Holy Trinity. How are they one person and three? Women, how are they totally normal and sane and sexy, then the next minute crazy? Hey, my name is Mr. X. Welcome to the Extreme Channel. We are giving away $1,000 statues to you guys. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into the Extreme Channel. Today we're looking at two amazing Batman statues. So what's really interesting about today's Extreme Rumble, or Extrumble as we call them, is we're going to try and compare and contrast these two Batman on throne statues. They're both quarter scale, they both have Batman, they both have really elaborate thrones, but they are so different on so many different levels, it's going to be pretty hard to determine, oh, this is better for this reason, because they both have their merits. Now, as a disclaimer, believe it or not, these are not the only Batman on throne statues I have owned. If you recall, I actually used to own this giant Batcave statue. It was in the same scale as these statues right here. And then I had a custom contingency plan where he defeated the rest of the Justice League. But now I've narrowed it down to these two. Now what's funny about this is those previous statues were traditional Batman. This is not traditional Batman on my left or right. So the one on my right is a custom, means it's a private unlicensed commission. It's the one I got in most recently. You can check out the original review right here for more detail on the piece. But this is from the Arkham video games, which I've never played. One on my left is a licensed piece. That means the person who made it, which is Queen Studios, Warner Brothers, who owns DC, and says, hey, we want to make this statue of Batman, will you approve? And they go through this lengthy process. So that's one way they're different, custom and licensed. But as I said, neither of them are the traditional Batman. You have a video game Batman to the one on my right. This one is from the Dark Knight Metal storyline. So if you're unfamiliar with that, Dark Knight Metal is a storyline that's about 4 or 5 years old, and in it there's a multiverse where all these different versions of Bruce Wayne come in and try and end the world. And I've talked about this so many times in so many different statue reviews, because I have about a dozen statues from that storyline. The one that actually pairs with this is Batman Who Laughs on Throne. So it's also a throne and it's also by Queen Studios. Now that Dark Knight Metal storyline has this great, amazing concept, but the storyline itself is a little blah, to be honest with you, but I love the characters in it. So what we're going to attempt to do today is figure out which one I'm going to keep. I'm not going to keep both of them. So if you're interested in buying one of these, make sure you've not only liked this video, but you've subbed to the channel and hit the bell notification. At the end of every month, I put up a bunch of statues for sale. So first of all, I want to start talking about the concepts of each of these pieces. They are very, very different, but they both include Batman kind of being triumphant in winning the world. So they're both sitting there very nonchalantly, yet still menacing. Batman can do that somehow. And these thrones are extremely elaborate. There's ties to death in the Dark Knight Metal one. There's ties to the video game and churches and cathedrals and different types of gargoyles and other sculptures. You see dragons and snakes and panthers on the Dark Knight Metal. And I just keep going back and forth on this. There's an ode to Joker, if you remember, on the back of the custom one. So honestly, while we're looking at the two different concepts, they're both Batman who conquered everything and is sitting on a very elaborate throne. I don't think one concept is better than the other. I believe these are both based off of specific art. The Batman Arkham is based off of this art right here, and I don't know who originally did it, where the Batman on Throne Dark Knight Metal from Queen Studios is based on this comic cover. Which, for the record, if I do keep this one, I'm going to get the comic cover to match it. I like to do that. I've talked about it in this video with CGC 9.8 slabs. So overall, I think it's a tie. They're both fantastic concepts. I like them a lot. And the truth is, they don't pair with a lot of other statues, but you do have options. I showed you the Batman Who Laughs that actually this was sitting next to. That looks pretty good. But also on this, there are some quarter scale other Arkham Knight statues out there, so you could pair that with them. I want to talk about the displayability of both, because I think there's some issues here. Now, both of these aren't really Batman on throne statues. They're throne statues that have Batman on them. The Batman itself is really good on both of them, but what's really cool is the throne. But you have to talk about how can I display this, especially if I want to display it next to some other statues. So the first issue you run into is the size. Now this gets really complicated because on the left, the Queen Studios, if you recall, there's a number of different switch outs you can do. You can go really elaborate like I have now, and it's actually missing a circular piece. Here's a picture of it all blown out. But if you wanted to, you could change the stuff in the back and make it quite a bit shorter. And in that case, the Arkham statue is actually a little bit taller. Base size is what really makes this harder to display. As you can see by the dimensions below, the Queen Studios is much, much bigger. And to be honest with you, I think the Queen Studios, you almost want this Angel of Death or whatever that is because it makes such a big part of the statue. But to flip this even further, one of the coolest parts about the Arkham statue is some of the stuff on the back. And I can say that probably about the Queen Studios as well. Look at the backs of these statues. Both are pretty amazing, and you can't see it if you're just displaying the front and the back is to a wall. To further complicate things, the Queen Studios has some additional switch out options. There are 2 different portraits you can actually get. And again, it depends on what version of this statue you bought, but I think that's a pretty good advantage, as well as different hand switch outs on the Queen Studios specifically, where the Arkham Knight, it is how it is, other than this light up feature if you recall from the original video. That's pretty neat as well. So they both have things the other one doesn't have, negative and positive. I started looking at these characters and I'm like, you know what, they are very different sizes, even though they're supposed to be quarter scale. So one easy way to compare is look at the portraits. As you can see in these portraits, the Queen Studios is way bigger. Now that begs the question, which one is accurate? So I grabbed the portrait from Prime One Studio, another licensed company, their Justice Buster piece right here. As you can see, it looks like the Queen is the one that's really overscaled. So the Queen is harder to display because it's bigger, yet it has switch out options. It is overscaled. The Arkham Knight, the right scale, no switch out options, does have a light up feature, and the coolest part is on the back. So displayability, in my opinion, is a subjective category. I'm looking at it like this. This is going to go with this piece right here from my collection. It's a custom Darkseid on Throne. Now, because Darkseid is so big, the Queen Studios, even though it's overscaled, probably pairs with it better. So for that reason, I'm giving displayability barely to the Queen Studios. But I think they both have pros and cons when it comes to displayability. All right, let's talk about value for each of these statues. Not just affordability, but value. So the Queen Studios, this is their deluxe one, much more expensive, an extremely high edition size, where the Arkham, low edition size and low retail price. Not only that, the Arkham is much more rare and it's more affordable. I think the Arkham video game have a way bigger following than the Dark Knight Metal storyline. So I actually give value to this one right here, the Arkham Custom. Much better deal. We could look at the details of these statues, paint and sculpt, but I'm going to go over that category because I think they're both pretty close. They're both really well done. They both have a few areas that could be better. I'd probably give, you know what? I'm going to give the slight edge to Queen Studios. I think it is better overall. And you're like, Mr. X, you just said you're not going to rate it. This is my show. I can do whatever the hell I want. So which one is better overall? You know, we really haven't decided anything. And if you're a follower of the channel, you know that these extrembles, sometimes it's obvious, sometimes I'm kind of bewildered like I am right now. I honestly don't know. I'm probably going to take some measurements, and then I'm going to see which one will fit with my display better, and it might just fall into that. But if space was not an issue and size wasn't an issue, part of me is leaning towards the Queen Studios simply for the fact that I know the source material and I don't know it on the other one. And one of my favorite things about the Arkham is the back of the statue, but I don't see it when it's displayed. So for weird personal reasons, I pick Queen Studios as the winner. However, I think the general public would pick the Arkham. I want to know what you guys think. You have 2 ways to tell me. Number 1 is, the day I'm launching this, there will be an online poll on YouTube. Go ahead and vote and comment on why you voted, or comment below, because if you comment below, that could actually win you a statue. As we try to grow this channel, we like to reward you guys for watching and subscribing. So because of that, every 5,000 milestone when it comes to subscribers, we give away a couple $1,000s worth of statues. We've actually given away over 20 statues. To win one was easy. First, you gotta be subscribed to the channel. You'll get bell notifications when videos drop. Each video that drops, you wanna make a comment on those videos. We pick a random video, we give away statues based on a comment. You can say whatever you want. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Hey, thank you everybody for tuning in. Now I got to get these back without hurting myself. Yeah, it's too late for that. I got a cane. Take care of yourself. All right, okay.